you're live now. So, welcome to Geeks on Screen with Coffee. It's
6:13.
and it's the 17th of November. And welcome to today's guest, Buck Woody. Hello, Buck. How are you?
Well, hello there.
We're live.
No,
No, we're live this time. I
no,
think.
I know, but here, let me try it again. You're doing it all wrong. Let me try this again. Ready? Well, hello there.
Hello.
No, you're supposed to say General Kenobi. Really? We can't talk to each other in just one-liners from sci-fi movies?
That's really bad, Chewbacca. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right,
I
fine.
don't know.
Let's start it for real now. Let's start it
Okay.
for real.
So we need the clapperboard to sync sound and vision.
Mhm.
And welcome, Buck Woody. Should I start with the fact that's not your real name? That's a nom de plume.
It's a bit of a nom de plume. I've gone by Buck since I was very, very little, and the only person that calls me by my Christian name is my mother. So there's that. So we'll just call. Speaking of mother, my mom, we come by way of South Carolina here in the United States, and but I was recently, I used to live in the UK, right?
Near Cape. Is that when you were in the
I
army?
was in, yeah, I was in the Air
Yeah.
Force,
Sorry, the Air
but
Force. That's much better
no,
than the army.
no, I learned to read, and they made me go in the Air Force. So, um, lived in East Anglia for a while, up there in Ely, Ely. And but before that, actually, you used to work with some people from Ireland. There was a lady I knew. Her name was Mary, and she was a bog cutter. Do you know what that is? It's like where they take the peat in bogs and they cut them into these large bales, and people use them for various things. And so our company would get these bales from Mary, and after she'd cut them, and then I would recut them into the right shape that we needed. So in a way, I was, kind of a repeat.
So
That's as good as it gets.
one of the one of my buttons. There we go. 5. So just so you know, I've got some buttons that do noises. So there's a
Ah,
cheer.
so do I.
And when you
Oh,
said that,
you mean electric buttons? Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
So
I'm a little older, so a lot of my buttons make noise.
yeah, you need oiling. Is that castor oil you need? Um,
Some can be that way. Sure,
and
we'll go with that.
if we were lucky, I hit number 5 on the keyboard, which should have played some cricket sounds.
Oh, okay. Crickets. Yes,
So
very nice. Lovely
so
game.
so what are you drinking? So welcome to. Oh, it's so different. I just
I
knew
told you
that it
this
was
would
gonna.
happen.
It's
I told you this would happen. I'm literally called a chaos agent here at Microsoft. I
chaos.
was literally, there was one time I'm walking into the meeting, and I'm up in Redmond at the big thing and on campus, and I'm up there, and it's like 7 in the morning. I was there for something early, and I'm walking past this big conference room, and of course they'd reserved it, and all the execs, the leadership team, had come in to have a meeting there in this room. And of course, they had a full spread of breakfast in the back, which of course none of them were eating because they'd had their, I don't know what executives eat, their steamed grape skins just before they went to their posh workout center or whatever they do. And so I see this big thing of bacon. We have this pepper bacon at Microsoft. It's unbelievable. So I grab a plate because they're not eating it, and I start loading up. And one of the senior executives turns around and he looks and sees me eating, their food, and he says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "No, I'm fine, thanks." And I continue loading up my plate, and of course that wasn't the response he was looking for. And so he said, "Who are you?" And another executive, and someone you would know, turns to him and says, "That's Buck Woody. He's Microsoft's house cat. Nobody knows what he does. Nobody knows where he sleeps. Everyone has his work that he's supposed to be doing, and he just comes in here and eats our food." And I waved and walked out. So I actually had one time a badge made, not by me, by someone else, that my job title was called Microsoft's house cat. So this randomization that you're facing literally right now is just, it's just what I do.
I mean, I know that's. I mean, I've been. This is the 51st episode, or 45,
Mm.
as you would like to be. And uh, the all the episodes up to now have just been in preparation for this, and I realised it's just not enough. It's just
It's not enough.
no, no,
No,
no.
there is no prep really. I don't think.
The
At least that's what my mom tells me. It's there's no prep that can prepare you for this.
I mean, I did try. Honestly, I did
Hmm.
try, and
And you did a great job. You did a great job. You maintained control. I think you had 5 or 10 seconds there that were you were fully in control, and that's really good.
at least, yeah, yeah. I thought
Yeah,
I
at
might
least.
be directing this, but I'm just hanging on for dear life. I think that's
How's that working out for you?
it's,
Is
it's
that doing okay? The people on the
oh,
television there, we're on television now, aren't we? The
yeah.
video thingy.
We're on the YouTubes and the Facebooks.
Oh my goodness, that's just stunning. I hear they have the internet on computers now, is what I recently was reading in the paper.
Really,
They do. So we should probably talk about something. Is this like a technical thing? Are we supposed to be talking about like quantum physics and stuff? Because we can do that too.
if you can talk about quantum physics, that's fine. This is just a chat. So I mean, how is Buck? Do you
I'm
like
doing
being
fantastic.
called Buck? As
Yeah,
in, can I
yeah,
refer to you in the third person?
I
Or
do. I often do.
and
Buck is doing well.
and does Buck like that? Or does Buck?
Buck sometimes likes that. Buck most of the time just likes any attention he can get.
All right. So on a slightly serious note, and it's probably the only serious note we're ever going to get, is I was in one of your sessions because you do this presenting thing, and
Yes, from time to time.
you're reasonably well known and quite successful at it.
Well, thank you.
And you've been like, was it a thing? Was it Pass or was it Ignite? One of the Microsoft things you were kind of the best presenter.
Who can say, right? You pass out enough hallucinogens at the beginning of the session, and your scores just rocket through the top.
And so I saw you do. I think it was Move Like Jagger, where you were talking about presenting skills.
That's right. That's right.
And
And Brent Ozar and I did one time called "You're Not Pretty, but Your Presentation Can Be."
ah, okay, so I'm pulling it back. I'm trying
Okay.
to keep on
Okay.
track.
Sorry.
I'm trying to keep on
Sorry. No,
track. I'm trying. Um, it's really one point. It was the key message on that was about the content is the message is king. The content isn't king. I remember, and you were just doing this repeating, and it was very NLP, neural linguistic programming, and that's what stuck with me. But the key message in there was about time and about how time is the most valuable resource. And so one of the key things about is just not wasting your time and wasting other people's time. I mean, this whole thing is a
exactly.
waste of time, but um, there's frivolous wastes of time, and then there's
That's right.
fun wastes of time. And so I
Yes.
think this is
Yes.
a nice waste of time. So tell me
Excellent.
about the time you got struck by lightning. So that's
Which time? I've been hit twice.
and you haven't learned. I mean, after the first one, you would have thought,
So yeah, I live here in Florida, in Central Florida. We get about in an average storm, we can get several thousand hits of lightning in a single storm. So it's actually not that statistically rare to get hit by lightning. It is rare to survive it. Um, my daughter had been born and she was very, very little, and she had to have tubes put in her ears, and they had told us, whatever you do, don't let her get wet. And what they meant by that, of course, is don't submerge her, right? But of course, as new parents, we're horrified if water got anywhere near her. So it's pouring down rain. It's coming down buckets. We'll get 6, 7 inches in a storm of rain at one time. So it comes down really hard. It's very tropical. And my wife drove up in the driveway. I'm sitting in the house watching TV, and I'm in shorts and a t-shirt and barefoot because that's what you do in Florida. And I'm seeing this rain come down. I'm like, oh, let me go get Christina so that she doesn't get, wet from her ears. So I run out to the van. We had a little minivan at the time. And I start to open the door, and lightning strikes. And it hits the van and me and the ground where I was standing. And it picks me up and throws me into the yard our driveway was a curve, so it threw me into the yard sort of that way. And from the vantage of my wife, she pulls in, sees me run out of the house. There's a bright flash, and then I'm gone. So that was pretty exciting. It exploded the battery in the van and fried the radio. We had a radio, and it blew that out. And I ended up in the ground in the yard, looking up in the rain, going, "Ouch!" And luckily, I was barefoot and on wet pavement, and supposedly the diffusion or something around all that actually kept me from dying. The second time I was driving from Orlando, which is about 2 hours from here, that's Disney World, over towards this side of the state, which is on the far west side on Tampa, and a storm came up, and I'm riding the motorcycle, and I'm cooking along, and I'm near something tall, and I feel the hair on my arms stand up, and I'm like, "Here we go." And it hit me, but luckily I was on a motorcycle, so it's got rubber tires and all. Still very extraordinarily painful. It blackened here on my hands where I was gripping the thing. Very, very painful. So twice. And yeah, we won't talk about other odd things that have happened to me. I've found 2 dead bodies in my life before I was 12. Lots of things. I was in jail before I was 5 years old. I was put in a jail cell.
It does.
There's a lot.
It does explain. So it does explain a lot. So I mean, how? So we didn't even cover the. What do you? Is that a Microsoft coffee cup?
It's a Microsoft coffee cup, and it has a caffeine molecule on it.
Just it looks really cool.
Yeah.
So how are things in? I presume that background is that is that the vantage from your house? The
No, it's not the
view.
vantage from the house. I live a little ways from this, not too far, just a few minutes, but this is the Grand Wyndham Hotel or resort, and it overlooks Clearwater Beach, which is a really beautiful beach area. So my wife and I on Saturdays will usually go take a long walk somewhere. We have lots of state parks and things like that around here, and we often just go down to the beach, which is just a few minutes from the house. I live near Tampa Bay, and then Clearwater Beach is about another 4 or 5 miles away. And so we'll sometimes go to the beach right here, and we'll get coffee at this little resort, and then we'll walk 5 or 10 miles down that beach.
Looks really nice.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun.
So I was going to just ask how things are with Buck, just generally.
Yeah, doing great. I'm missing specifically today was kind of interesting. We locked down in February here. They didn't let the German Americans out again starting in February. So I was, last year I went around the world twice. So this year, no travel whatsoever. And I've been real good and stayed locked down like you're supposed to. I mean, the ankle bracelet and the house arrest that helped a lot, but the virus too, sure. And so I haven't been able to travel like I've wanted to at all. And I'm actually today actually really missing it because I just love travel. I just love it. I don't like traveling, but I do like being other places.
Is that because the place or the people? Which bit do you
It,
miss?
It's the people. Of course, I love visiting various locations, fascinating places, Hong Kong, Germany, France, Ireland, and of course, I lived in the UK. London is my second home for me. I just absolutely love the city of London. But it's the people. I mean, if I just went on travels, then you're just kind of a tourist, really, and which is fine. But for me, I get to be with people while I'm there. And because I'm working when I go, I don't travel for entertainment. I actually stay home for that. I travel for work. And I usually am going and meeting. As you know, you and I have met up, I can't tell you how many places, right? Um, and like when we went to York that time, and there were people there from York who would like show me around and let me take you to this restaurant or this cool place and that sort of thing. I have friends around the world and they're like, nah, I don't get a hotel, just stay at my house. And I like that way better than the rest. And I'll go introduce myself anywhere, meet new people anytime I can. Did I tell you that I was actually a member of parliament once? Did I mention that?
No, I don't think I've heard that one. Go
Well,
on.
this
British
was, let's
Parliament.
see, this would have been 1982 or three. I'm living in the UK. A friend of mine comes over to visit, and I take him down to London, and we're wandering around, and I'm showing him the sights. But it's like a day. You can't do London in a day, so it's very late afternoon. It's a weekday. We got to get ready to get on the train to go back up to East Anglia. And I'm like, we got to go to, Westminster Abbey, Houses of Parliament, all that. And I said, you can actually, if they're in session, they've got a gallery, and you can kind of actually sit up there and watch the proceedings. If you get in and get in line, you get a ticket. This is way before all kind of problems and things in security, as you know. So anyway, we run to go get in this line, real long. We're not going to make it in because it's getting close to the time when they shut it down. But I noticed the line next to us was much, much shorter. And so I said, come with me. So we go get in the other line. It's moving quickly. We get in. The guard's there, and he's like, are you with everybody? I'm like, yeah, yeah. So he's like, hurry up. And so we get in. We start walking. We begin to walk down a very narrow hallway. And I began to notice everybody that was in line with us seemed to know each other very well. And they were all British. And we weren't. My friend and I were not. And the doors open for us to go into the gallery, but it isn't the gallery. It's the place at the bottom with all the green seats. And so um, I began to get nervous, and he turned very, very pale, which was actually fortuitous because then he looked even more British. And I told him, don't say anything because they'll know we're not from here, right? Just keep your mouth shut. And so we get in the little gallery thing. I went to the right. I don't remember. I remember going to the right. This is very imprinted because I was terrified. I was pretty sure we were going to go to jail for being in there.
Yeah.
And so, these people are like yelling at each other, and, I don't understand what's going on. It's in English. How would I know? And they're like, yeah, we should do. And so I told him just every once in a while, just go, because that's what some of the people were doing when somebody would say something, it's bull crap, or whatever. And I'm like, just join in. And so then after a while, I have to tell him, you only on one side, though. You can't root for everybody. And it's like a ball game. You got to pick a
Yeah.
side. So we would wait, and the lady would say something, and so then when it was all over, we made sure we were the first ones out. Now, this is in the days before they like televised this and stuff, because I'm sure we would have been jacked up. How did we get on this topic exactly?
You were just saying how you were
Travel. And
attacking
I would
Parliament.
meet
Yeah,
anybody. There you go.
you
I'm
are.
willing to I'm willing to meet anybody, including the members of parliament and the police,
You're willing to break into the Houses of Parliament. Doesn't that
apparently.
make you a modern day Guy Fawkes?
I, it makes me something. Uh, it almost made me a convict is what it almost made me.
Is that while you were serving? So effectively
Yeah.
you were military breaking into the
Yeah.
Houses of Parliament. Would that
Something
make are
like
you a
that.
spy then? I guess
Oh,
technically.
we don't talk about that. We
Sorry.
don't. We don't talk about that.
Mm,
As far as you
yes.
know, I was a lowly admin just doing things for people.
Yes. So, Buck, what's your favourite cheese?
Cheese, my favorite cheese.
Cheese. Curdled milk.
I have a theory about cheese. I think that cheese is milk's way of trying to become immortal. However, what's my favorite cheese? Gosh, that's like asking what's your favorite child. I only have the one child, but no one ever said it had to be your child for it to be your favorite. But anyway, favorite cheese. It depends on, what I'm doing with the cheese, right? There's cheese toast, and there's all kinds of things you can do with cheese. I guess it'd have to be Benham Blue. Benham Blue.
Red and blue. Any particular reason why that one? Do you like the mold, or is it just kind of? It's
Uh,
a good cheese with crackers, or it's a good
yeah,
versatile
well, it is,
cheese?
it is very good. You know what a water cracker is? Do you know what that is?
Yes,
Okay. It's very good with water crackers.
we
And I
have
got
food in
hooked on
England.
this.
Just
You
we
do?
do. We occasionally have we are.
Well,
It's
no, the reason I ask is because one time, this is another, we're going to come back to the question,
uh,
but I'm going to take a quick jaunt. So one time I go to the UK and I ask for double cream in my coffee, And the guy looked at me like I was bat crazy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We never put that. And I'm like, yes, you do. When I was 18 and moved to the UK, that's the first place I had it. But see, I lived in East Anglia again, in Ely and sort of around farms and things, and they did that. I'd go to Sainsbury's and get a little pot of the double cream, and it goes in coffee. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's insanely good. Anyway, where were we going with that cheese?
Yeah,
And why did I like?
that's it.
I said water crackers and all that, and you guys are the reason I know about or like water crackers.
Ah,
Anyway, that cheese, Benham Blue, is from Norfolk. It's from the East Anglia.
I mean, that's where I am right now in the East Angles, and a little bit away from not Norwich.
Uh, Norwich, Norwich. You've never had Benham Blue?
No, I don't partake in animal products. I'm one of these strange people who, if it's been anywhere near an animal, I won't eat it,
Well,
including human animal.
I guess, yeah, I guess I'm safe then.
Yeah,
Um, no, I like Benham Blue a lot. And is it the mold or whatever? Sure. It's just the taste.
yeah,
It's just the
okay.
taste. So do you are like one of those things you don't eat anything that casts a shadow. You only eat like steamed grape skins or something. What is it that you eat?
Anything like I mean, I'm quite cruel to plants, so I will eat
Plants.
plants. Yeah, if it's so, I haven't eaten meat in 20 something years, and then I stopped having kind
Wow.
of all animal products, even
Well,
honey.
my uncle was a vegetarian, but he told me it's not because he didn't he felt bad, about eating meat. He just really hated plants. So he was very brutal that way. So like salads, you eat a lot of salads and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can you can have quite a lot because the
Yeah.
meat is actually still only a small proportion of what people eat, but they seem to people just say, I can't have a steak. I'm like, it's the end of the world, but it's not
Well, it
really.
wouldn't be the end of the world. It's just I prefer I prefer anything with sad eyes and fur. If it had sad eyes and fur, I'll eat that. Um,
That does
the
describe some people I know, though. So
It does. It does. Yes. We
I'm
won't talk about that either
no long
because
peg.
those charges were never proven. It was all an allegation. So the you like do you like tofu?
I'm yes, yeah.
I love tofu. Like I love tofu.
So when you travel around, do you are you one of these people, and I assume you're not, that just has um like your normal food? So you'll just have whatever you normally have, or do you go right full in with whatever culturally kind of is, if it's Japan, whatever, it's all squid and seafood and anything with claws that will kill you and
That's
blowfish.
right. Yeah. When I was in Hong Kong, they gave me they made me all this. I was like this guest of honor at some big dinner, and they did this dish, and out came a dish of pigeon, like Trafalgar Square pigeon, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, pigeons, and
I'm aware.
it had been chopped up and put back together with the head and the wings to
Genius.
look like to look like a pigeon. And they said, "Look, this is for you." And I said, oh. And so, when in Rome, right? So I ate the pigeon. And then after I was eating the pigeon, I'm like, hey, could you get me the waiter person? And so the guy comes over. Yes. And I said, you have something like a soup, like a hot, like something hot with like lots of peppers in it. And he's like, well, we have this one soup that has like 7 kinds of peppers in it, but it's way too. I said, oh, I would love like a big, like a bowl of that. And so he brought me out the soup and I ate it until I could literally, see air molecules vibrate. It was very hot. And then I could eat the pigeon because I could no longer taste anything. It was just, you just go full nuclear option at that point.
It's a full sort of different level of consciousness when you're having that many chilies.
It is. It is. And no, I've eaten all kind of stuff. I mean, nobody I know, but I've eaten all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
My general diet is if it's slower than me, it's food.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the kind of the the advice, isn't it? You don't need to be run faster than a bear. You just need to run faster than the slowest person.
That's right.
You see,
That's right.
my jokes are like from a completely different era to your jokes. In fact,
No,
yeah, and
I
slower.
think we're roughly the same. Benny Hill and the like.
Do you know what? I don't know whether you've got this in America, but in the UK, there's a lot of stuff where you're that's old, and therefore the humor was right then, and people would laugh at it. But
Right.
you're not allowed to laugh at it now,
Correct.
because it
Correct.
it's culturally inappropriate, or it's just yeah,
That's
horrifically
actually that's
sexist.
ironic. That's actually another badge I had at Microsoft, culturally inappropriate. Anyway, you were saying.
And there's some stuff, and I haven't watched any Benny Hill, and all I can really remember from my youth from watching Benny Hill was kind of just he would seem to run around a lot after women in underwear, and he would slap some guy on the head a lot, but it's very slapstick. It was
It was very slapstick, and that was always the ending bit. That was
yes,
always the little bit there at the end. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the whole Monty Python era, all that, those were my teen years. So, and I did get a lot of my sense of humor from the British, which has gotten me into no end of trouble because, as you know, the British sense of humor is very dry. And so my daughter actually picked it up, and she works. She's a school teacher, and the place she works at, the headmaster said, "I'm never really sure when you're kidding." And so I think this is kind of interesting because you know how they show that like crows can learn a group of people they don't like, and then their children don't like those people or people with blue hats or whatever. Same thing. Christina's humor is British, and some of her turns of phrase are British. Um, but she's not British and it wasn't raised there or anything else. She's been several times, but she was older when she did that. Like, for instance, the word fiddly. You know exactly what that means, don't you?
yeah,
Yes, so we don't have a corollary to that word in the US. We would say complicated, but that's not quite it. We would say difficult, that's not quite it. Fiddly is like you can see the bolt, but it takes special wrenches and 10 minutes to get to the bolt that takes 1 second to take off. That's a fiddly bit. There is no corollary to that in US English. And so, how did we get on this topic? I've forgotten
doesn't
already.
matter. We
It doesn't matter.
we ramble. It's fine.
Okay.
We'll circle
Okay.
back to
I usually
cheese.
get in trouble for this.
No, this is what this is
Okay.
about.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, this is perfect. Then I'm in my element.
So the one of my favorite lines that I used to do from when my children were young, my daughter picked up this phrase. This is the worst day of my life. So she goes, oh, this is the worst day of my life. And I would just add on the end, so far.
So far, the worst day of your life so far. I've said that to my daughter. And I also used to say, suck it up, buttercup, to her so much that on my 50th birthday, she did a needlepoint for me and framed it. And it says, suck it up, buttercup. And it's on my wall over my desk because I said it to her so much. She would come in and I'm like, if you need sympathy, go to your mom. Suck it up, buttercup. Put on your big girl panties and let's get started. So off we went there.
So
So that's one that I did that comes from Britain a lot is just suck it up.
my wife has a term which is woman up, which is far more than manning up. You know,
Oh,
man up.
absolutely.
Well, yeah, woman up is
Oh,
the next
listen.
level up.
Oh, women are so much stronger than men. For instance, if men had to deliver children, right, there would be only two people on the planet because the man would have killed his wife so it could never happen again. And he would have only kept the child alive to explain every day how difficult it was. And so, yeah, they're way, way, way tougher than men, way tougher.
I also think that so sometimes you think of minorities and you sometimes think of women as a majority. Men are a minority. So we're endangered, Buck. They're going to take
Well,
over.
I'm in danger,
Well, I
but
mean,
for
you are.
much different reasons. Yeah, for much different reasons. No, I was Yeah, I'm pretty outnumbered in my house. My mom lives nearby, my daughter and her husband live nearby, and I have, I'm married, I have a wife, and my cat is female, and my dog before she passed away was female. So sometimes I will just go to Home Depot and just stand in the tool aisle to get some testosterone back just from the air, because it just sucks, it just sucks it right out of the air when I go home. There's a lot of estrogen going on in my house.
I mean,
So.
we have I've got two daughters, so there's three women in the house and a dog, but it doesn't really count in this story. And we only have two bathrooms. We only have two buck. What am I going to do? I'm
Well, when
outside
you're a
toilet.
guy, any place outside. Hey, listen, I'm looking at your green screen choice, like the thing you did for your green screen. I put like a beach scene that I took a picture of and all that. You have some, what is that?
That is a standard Teams background
Well, I
because
mean, you don't
I've got no imagination. It could be
uh
anything.
I'll send you something. I'll send you something appropriate.
So I
You know what you should do? You know what you should do? You know what you should do? You should totally be in a coffee shop, either Central Perk, which one is that?
well, that's Friends.
That's Friends, or the one from Frasier, which would be even better.
Um, Frasier. I can't. What was that called?
He went to different ones. There is one that was my favorite in Seattle called Seattle Coffee Works. That was my favorite when I lived in Seattle.
All right,
SCW, really good. Now you have no background. You're just
floating.
it's you're floating on a
Oh,
whiteboard.
I've just done. Oh, look, I can move that back. But what I
I know.
can do is, if you
It's fiddly.
ever wanted to get
It's
close. Oh, for goodness
it's
sake!
fiddly. It's fiddly.
There we go.
Oh my gosh. Maybe you shouldn't post edit while we're on air.
No, that's probably not a good. I could change the background. I was thinking. Oh, I've just. There's so many windows to click on. There we
There
go.
there really is. Computers are baffling. Technology, it's baffling.
It's two things I hate: technology and people, and that's
Oh,
why I like this job.
I see. Well, the two things I hate, or the three things I hate, are incompleteness and lists. That's the things I don't like. So anyway, um, we were talking about um, your hatred of plants, I believe, was where we left off.
Yes. So
Have you ever eaten a cactus?
I think I've had some aloe vera. I might.
There's certain cacti you can eat. It's disgusting, but you should try it because I'm assuming you'll like it.
Oh well, I mean, if it's disgusting, then yeah, of course I'll try it. That's really sold me on it. The the buck that we see. So how many bucks are there? This is. It might sound like an odd question,
Mm.
but you've got many kind of different roles and sort of different jobs. You've got your kind of professional buck, which we never see because he's hidden away, locked in a box somewhere. You've got your
Mm.
presenting buck. You've got your
Mhm.
teaching buck. There's family
Mhm.
buck.
Mhm.
Um, are they pretty much mostly the same person, or do you kind of switch between different personas? Um,
They're kind of the same all the time. This is
is
me.
it really this all the time? I mean,
Well,
really?
yeah, yeah.
God, your wife she's a
It's tiring.
saint.
It's taxing. It really is taxing.
All right.
Number one questions asked of my daughter: Are you really Buck Woody's daughter? And number two, is he always like that?
Oh,
And
okay.
yes is both of them. So you've asked a popular question. Now you haven't asked about my other personalities, so we'll just stick with Buck for now.
Oh, tell me about your other personalities.
Well, we have several to pick from. I tend the secret of staying because I'm very happy. I don't really get stressed ever, and I find the key to that is to have multiple realities going in your head at all times and switching to the one that's non-stressful at the time. So I will do that mid-meeting sometimes, which becomes a little distracting for someone talking to me. The only one we're not good with is Janet. Janet's not nice. We don't we don't we don't
She
we
doesn't
don't
play
bother
well with
Janet.
others. Mm.
No, no, no. So yeah, we don't talk about that most. Looks like we got some comments over here, at
Yeah,
least um
on the
on
YouTube,
on
certainly.
the YouTubes. Um, this is the best rambling moment of the week. Archer, we're having several moments. This is the way in this particular reality, there are multiple time splices hooked together. So,
How are
uh,
you? How are you with the multiverse? Are you a multiverse or are you
oh, yeah,
a?
absolutely. Are you kidding? I live in the multiverse.
Because I can imagine you living on multiple planes of reality all simultaneously.
That's the multiple realities. Absolutely. There's an absolute possibility of a multiverse, but
Because
we'd never know, which is kind of cool. You can't prove it.
I think there must be a Mark somewhere doing, you know, someone who's quite happy and content in their life, and just yeah,
So, like the anti-mark,
yeah, he must exist. So I feel quite happy that
that you're
even though
enabling him to do that.
yeah, because someone has to take the crap.
There was a Star Trek episode about that.
Oh, which one? I mean, Star
Uh,
Trek.
the real Star Trek, not that new crap.
You know, I would love to do a. I've got a really bad Kirk impression. The problem is you don't want to do that stuff online because people
Right?
can.
It's forever.
It's almost like
forever.
it's recorded and other people can watch it. But
Right. It's forever.
if you're in a room, you can embarrass yourself with those people in the room, and you know that they're probably going to forget because of the alcohol.
As I've been told multiple times, it's only embarrassing for those around you.
Yeah, yes, that does work. So tell me, so this Star Trek where they have the multiple universes?
Yeah, so it was an episode where they're going along, Kirk and Spock and McCoy, of course, and they're going along, and they see this weird spaceship, and it's the same one they use in like multiple episodes because, hey, there's only so much budget. So it looks like a typical flying saucer. The guy gets out, very famous actor, and he's half black and half white, and they begin fighting and so on. And as they do that, no, this is a different episode. That's another one. Never mind. Forget that. Restart. So this is a guy, same spaceship though. That's what threw me. So he's in this spaceship. It blinks into time, and the guy is like saying he's all haggard. He's like he's got a beard and his hair's all wild. He's got his clothes are all torn. And he says he's after me. He's after me, and he goes all this. So anyway, they redid this one, right? And so then the time winks out, and now he's real rational and sane and a normal dude and all that. And it turns out what was happening was they were from different universes, but every time they got together, it would cause this universe to collapse. And so the shtick was the good bad guy had to get the bad guy into this time loop and trap him there, forever protecting for eternity everybody's realities by sacrificing himself. And that's a really long-winded way to say that's you so that anti-Mark can be happy.
Yeah. So I think someone multiple times, multiple geeks.
Yeah.
But they're actually nested Russian dolls. Okay. That was Neil Hambley. So is that Data Train? I think is the
Neil is my spirit animal.
He just I quite like he,
He's just
he just
delightful.
he just Neil is so great. He's there in the presence.
Yes,
And
that's right.
he dances like no one is
Yep,
watching.
that's right. That's right. But he's good at it. He's very good at it, and I really like the guy. He's just he's a bright light. He's a good ambassador for your fair country.
Yes. Is he? I don't know who would be a good ambassador. I don't know. Who would
No,
be a
he'd be an excellent ambassador. If you were to send like an ambassador to the U.S., you should do it for Neil Hembley. He should totally be the ambassador.
with a tray of Ferrero Rocher? Or is that too
That and with the hat and all of that, and maybe if things got like the negotiations got tough, he could like do a special dance to distract everyone from the moment. And then everybody would laugh at the guy dancing and be like, that guy's really good. We didn't expect that. And then the mood would lighten, and then world peace.
have you seen his pictures? And I think they must be from the 80s, where he was in a dance troupe.
I have. I have.
And that's
Yeah.
one of those pictures you can't show because of what the women are wearing is inappropriate
Right.
now. You couldn't do that picture
Right.
because you just said it was terribly sexist. But
Yes.
because it
Yes.
happened then, it's
Yeah, it was
fine
okay.
because
It
we
was
were
cool. Yeah.
allowed to be sexist. But
Yeah,
no,
that's right.
that's it.
Back then.
That's it.
Yep, that's right.
So
So he's no, those pictures were, and he'll put them up, which is we're really brave.
yeah.
Really.
They're all in black and white as well. They're all really
They are.
moodily
Well, they didn't
taken.
have color then.
No,
When
you're
I was
right.
younger, we didn't have color then. We didn't have computers either. We just sort of yelled zeros and ones at each other is what we did because there were no computers. And we actually didn't even have ones. We would have to take a spare zero and hammer it flat to make a one is what we had to do.
I can just see you in my head hammering zeros flat into kind of the letter C or something because halfway through making them into a one.
You know what we should do? We should have, how they always show people redo their childhood photos, like, the guy's holding his sister in the bathtub or whatever. And
Yeah.
so then they redo. We should have Neil redo in costume
Oh,
his original photos.
try to get all those people back together again for like a reunion shot.
Yeah, yeah,
God,
yeah.
that'd be
That would be
so good.
awesome. It
It
would.
would be.
If you wore those outfits, it would be really good.
So
I
can I?
can't do that anymore because I don't have any hair, so all my stuff would not.
You still
Yeah.
have. You got some hair. It's not all gone.
Yeah, no, it's slipping. It's what it's doing is slipped. And the top of my head and the back of my neck are in a race to see who can get to the crown first. And so there's that.
Can I?
Yeah.
So what are you? It might sound a bit rude, but what are you working on at the moment? Because
So
you've shifted from pure SQL Server to,
mhm.
I think I checked, you're still an applied data scientist. Your job title. I don't know whether that's changed now or.
No, no, that's right. So when I started at Microsoft about 15 years ago, I was on the SQL Server team as a program manager, which is an interesting role here at Microsoft. It's a little like a lead developer, although we have lead developers who are programmers. The program manager actually comes up with the features and so on that need to be in the project, whatever it is, whatever product you're working on. And then they ride that through. Now, it's not project management, but we do that too. But you literally work with documentation and you work with legal and you work with marketing and you work with your developers and you work with your testers and you're sort of over that feature. And that feature is then part of a bigger product and so on. And you all negotiate with each other for time and so on. It's a very interesting role, very difficult role. And I did that for a while, and then I became a technical specialist who works directly with customers in the Pacific Northwest, because that's when I lived up in Seattle. I lived there for about 10 years. And I worked with big, big, big companies, airplane companies and coffee companies and companies that sell lots of different stuff and outlet stores and those kinds of things, airlines and all kinds of things with large customers. And then there was this thing that came out called Red Dog, which was in something called incubation at Microsoft. Incubation is sort of our startup culture. And Red Dog was this thing where we were going to have people use stuff in something called the cloud. So I joined that team, became part of that team, and that eventually became Microsoft Azure. I worked there for about 3 to 4 years on that product. And when it what we call graduated, in other words, when it became real and we began to sell it and customers were actually using it, the people in incubation would either go out to the field to help engender that product, or they would stay in incubation and incubate something else. This is where Bing came from. This is where MSN came from. The Windows Phone back in the day came from incubation. Zune came from incubation. Those sorts of things. Yeah, I love my Zune. And so,
Whatever happened to the Zune? I mean, it's just we've all got them.
yeah, it's a long story fraught with peril. So anyway, um, I took a role down here in Florida working for the Department of Defense, still with Microsoft. U.S. Central Command is near here, and I worked for them doing stuff for people. That's what I'm allowed to say. And did that for about a year, and then joined. We bought Revolution Analytics, or Revo R, which was a huge machine learning group in the R community. And that became eventually Microsoft ML Server with Python and R and Java and all that kind of stuff. I joined that team very early on in the whole data science world. And I worked in that for a very long time. I then went over to Microsoft Research for a little while, and then came back out into what was called data and AI. And then from there, a couple years ago, talked to the SQL Server team when they were doing the big data clusters, which has Spark and machine learning services and all that, and said, hey, I'd be willing to help you guys gain some adoption of that product, where I talk to the field, find out what's working, what's not, talk back to the product group, and then talk to the field about what we're doing. And so that's where I've been ever since. And I work pretty much paired up. We work directly in engineering, but Bob Ward and I work together on the same team, and Anna Hoffman on the same team as well. And a lady has joined us named Marisa Priscilla, and she's on our team as well. So I'm a manager, and so I do some of that, but I still do the technical work around big data clusters, Spark, and machine learning services and AI. So that's kind of what I do.
What's the future? So, right, because I mean, you've seen a long way in the past. I mean, but you can then kind of work. Can you see the patterns for what might happen in the future?
Yeah, it's interesting. We started out with centralized computing. And what that means is on the mainframes that I started with, I really did go all the way that far back. And we had terminals that would hook to the mainframe, and they would timeshare the operating system. So virtual machines are not new at all. These are things we were doing originally. And NoSQL is not new. The whole flat files and all that, that's what we did with COBOL back in the day anyway. We're doing it correctly now. When I was at NASA working for a while, and we had the mainframes, and they brought out this new thing called Warp or OS2. And because we had these 286, 386, and even 486 computer Intel chipset computers, and they said, hey, we're going to swing over to LANs rather than mainframes. We're going to decentralize computing. And of course, the people on mainframes said, sure, whatever. They'll never do anything important on those. Let them do their whatever they do on that, the word processing and all that. That's fine. And I said, no, this is the way this is going to work. So I left the team that was working on the mainframes and went over and joined the LAN team that was putting in these OS2 computers. And at the time, I was working on the shuttle processing and data management system, SPDMS. And Microsoft and IBM originally were working on OS2 together. And Microsoft wanted to include networking in the package to beat Novell. And IBM said, no, we have LAN Manager, we have other networking stacks you can throw on the operating system. We want them separate. So Microsoft said, fine, we'll go make this new thing, NT, or new technology. And so they did a little thing and said, okay, those of you that split off from the mainframe, do you want to stay on the OS2 team, or do you want to go on the Microsoft pilot? And I said, I think I'll try the Microsoft thing. So that's where I started out. And then when Windows NT 351A Advanced Server came out, I got my first certification. I was a Microsoft Certified Professional, an MCP, which is all you could get back then. And you had to get it on Windows NT and then one workstation OS. And I got mine for Windows for Workgroups 311. So that's how I did that. And then I moved down to U.S. Space Command, which is about 20 miles south of NASA. And it's for the U.S. Air Force, but I was a contractor. And I ran a Windows system there, and I also ran some hardened Unix systems, HP Unix systems, HP 7000s, and other systems for U.S. Space Command. From there, went to be a consultant, then came over here to the Tampa side and worked at a large medical firm as the director of IT. And then I got recruited to go to Microsoft. And went up to Microsoft and was there for 10 years. And so that's sort of the whole part of that kind of showed me that, hey, we went from centralized to sort of decentralized computing, this LANs and so on. And then when the cloud came out and when Red Dog came out, that's why I jumped on it. They said, don't do this. Nobody's ever going to buy this thing. We're not going to use it. And I said, no, this is where we're going, because this is the mainframe sort of done right. It gives you all the benefits of LANs, the decentralization in that your company sort of control it, but it gives you these central aspects that are very useful. And so, it grew and grew and grew. And so what is next? Well, I think you're going to start seeing even more hybrid stuff. And by that, what I mean is there are small departments that are not going to cloud. But the larger IT infrastructure is now largely cloud-based. That's what I'm seeing around the US anyway, with the customers I've been working with recently. So they're putting like a small purpose-built server in a department to do a certain thing, video rendering or machine learning work because it's financial data or hospital data or whatever. And then as those workloads sort of mature, they get pulled up into the larger work set in the cloud. So it's an interesting paradigm that we sort of shifted, mainframes, then completely disconnected, then now back to cloud and semi, centralized. And now you're seeing a purposeful, no, I want to keep this little pocket off to the side. But yeah, sure, my office productivity, Office 365, why would you not do that? So that's kind of a given. But not everything is sort of moving that way, which is very interesting to me. This has been, by the way, since the pandemic sort of started. That's what we're seeing. We're not seeing people change their habits of moving fundamental enterprise level apps to a cloud, either us or someone else. But we are seeing these little department servers spring back up because some of the, a very small box now, I mean, hardware is so cheap. Can be done quickly. Almost everyone understands networking now. It's so easy. It's not as specialized as it was. And storage is so cheap, that sort of thing. This gives rise, of course, to some security concerns, all kinds of encryption problems. I recently dealt with a medical firm that I'm not allowed to talk about because I don't want to mention it, but they got hit by ransomware. And if they had just been using a cloud provider like ourselves, OneDrive just protects you against that in multiple ways. They weren't even backing up to that. And if they had been, they would have been safer. We got them back. It took several days and they lost a lot of work. But that's what we're seeing is now we have to educate the people that are standing up these little environments. Hey, there's this rigor that we're doing over here that you need to keep in mind as well.
So do you think that's a new shadow IT culture coming along?
Yeah, and it's not even shadow anymore. The company at one point, right, you'd find out how much shadow IT you had when Janet took vacation and turned off the computer under her desk that was running the Excel spreadsheet that everyone was using for everything. And that was a bad thing, right? Now you're seeing companies go, no, just do that yourself. Here's some money, go do that yourself. Because it's not viewed as core, it's viewed as departmental. And those departments now are learning about, they'll go through the same cycle. They'll say, this is great. We have all this flexibility. We can do whatever we want. We don't need to involve IT. And then things will have a very bad day. As we'd say in the military, tango uniform, toes up, right? The thing will have a bad day. And then they'll go, well, what do we do? And then you come in and go, well, do you have backups? Did you encrypt your data? And what? And then they learn, oh, okay, maybe there's more to this. So I think you'll see these weird cycles of, rubber band push and pull kind of things happen.
You don't think you'll see people to spin up extra Azure or Google subscriptions or AWS subscriptions, if as well as kind of the main company one, because they want to do something and they're not allowed to do it because of the security policy?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because back in the day, that's what shadow IT would do. They'd grab a credit card, they'd find a cloud provider they like, buy a few VMs, and off they'd go. And myself and probably everybody at AWS did the same thing we do. They'd go through and find the credit cards that were linked to company XYZ and said, you've got 14 subscriptions from various departments. Do you want to save some money by putting those together under, we do, that kind of thing. And so now those departments are being told, no, you come through IT if you want to get to Azure, and we'll parse out some cycles for you. And once again, IT becomes the breakwater, and they go around it. It's just it's a river. They'll go around it, and so they go buy their own servers now. And since IT is now consumed with the cloud aspect, they're not as much paying attention to rogue DNS servers running around on their local systems.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, once upon a time we would have network scans because
Yes.
I might, because I used to work on mainframes, from VAX, VMS systems, Unix systems, and then I did NT351 support. I am that old.
Yeah, you remember having to put Hummingbird TCP/IP on your systems?
Yes. I mean, I remember setting up IPX and SPX for the Novell network and
Yep.
Token
Yep.
Ring, and the company network going down because someone's Token Ring connection broke.
Yeah, that's right. The what I was at U.S. Space Command, which was Air Force, and I ran our Windows network, which had about 5,000 people on it. And I'm reading through the manuals because I had a Unix background, and so I went straight to the command line things. And I find this cool command called net send, which could send a message. And so I thought, well, let me try this. What I didn't understand in NetBIOS is if I do net send and I'm on a work group, it will go to the work group. But if I do a net send to your PC, it will go just to your PC. But if you're a domain controller, it goes to anything on the domain. So I'm in a server room back then, the cold room with the servers on it. And I had my MS Mail server running, and I had all kinds of stuff running there. I used Oracle at the time for my database. And so I'm just sitting there with the big book, back when you had books, and I'm flipping the pages, net send, help, I'm being repressed, right? From Monty Python in quotes. And I hit enter, and I thought, okay. And I'm looking down the next commands. And all of a sudden on all of my servers, I see help, the server room says help, I'm being repressed. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm on a military installation. And oh, wow. And in like minutes, the security police were massed at the door with the M16s. And of course, it's the server room, so it's locked. And they're like, open this door, open this door. And I'm like, oh, and I did the walk of shame to open the door. And I opened the door, and I had to get down on my knees and put my hands behind my head as they, checked every square inch of the server room. And are you under any duress, sir? And I'm like, no, I just typed something stupid. And so anyway, I got to go visit the base commander. He was very nice. Explained to me why I should never do that again, ever. He had no idea what I was talking about. Like, hey, I just typed so I was typing a net send command. He's like, look, whatever you did, don't do that again. I'm like, okay. So.
We used to have NetSend on NT4,
Mhm.
and we used to have NetSend battles. And until someone, I can't, there was a virus or something that started spamming people. So then all the machines then had to have the NetSend service turned off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I quickly went and found the NetSend service and disabled that as well. Back then, they didn't have group policies or things like that. You could go.
Yeah.
What I would do is when someone would log in, I would have a .reg file that would suck up into their registry and essentially flush everything out. So they couldn't change their screen timeouts and so on. It was quite the thing. So yeah, a lot of fun. But even then, I worked on what was called good old fashioned AI, or at least that's what it's called now, which were expert systems. I worked with the medical facilities of the day to do triage systems so that the nurse up front could actually get a lot of the stuff the doctor would do. Because, those are basically just big if then else trees, right? And I mean, they're more than that, but prologue and those sorts of things were not that hard to code up. And so I was playing around with that, and I had a statistics background already. So that's in the early days, that was the kind of machine learning and AI I played with.
I do
So I've
remember.
really come full circle.
I remember doing expert systems at university and having to write kind of like an expert system. I can't remember what it was now because it was so
Yeah,
long
yeah.
ago. Right, I've eaten up a lot of your time. We've kind of hit an hour. I've got two more questions, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So one is who to nominate next for me to chat to. Who would you like to have this ordeal? And while you're thinking about that, I'll do a question from the Richard Herring emergency question book. So
Mm,
you need to pick. He's a comedian in the UK
okay.
with a lowercase c because no one knows who
Okay.
he. Oh,
Ah,
of all the guests I've had, no one knows who he is,
okay.
but he's very funny.
Okay.
And I think you would like him because he's quite juvenile in certain
Okay. Well,
respects.
there you go. He's right down my alley.
So if you pick a number between 1 and 1001, I read a question out. If it's not rude,
Yeah. If it's rude, just go to the next one.
yeah. We'll skip it. I won't even mention it.
That's what I'm saying. You just act like it's the one I picked. So I'm picking a page number or a question number
Question number between 1 and 1001.
because that's very important. I would say since this is the 51st episode, we have to go with 51.
Ooh, okay.
Don't you think? Isn't that the right way to go?
Well, people pick favorite numbers, and sometimes people pick 999 because they think that's a good number, or 911, or numbers that mean stuff to them. The age of their children, important things like that.
Right.
Okay.
Well, 51.
Okay. This will
51
probably.
correlates to my IQ. So okay, go ahead.
Okay. So tell me if this means nothing to you. If you had the powers of Gary Sparrow and could travel from the 90s to the 40s, what would you do? So there was a TV program called Goodnight Sweetheart,
Yep.
where the guy Matt could travel back into the 50s, but instead of actually doing anything good, he just plagiarized Beatles songs.
Yeah. Let's see if I could go back in time and do something. I'm supposed to say something like kill Hitler or something like that, right?
He
And
would be
that's
gone by then, and the unintended consequences theory.
right. Because now we're assuming this is hypothetical, right? Because no one told you I could go back in time. I mean, no one said that, right? I mean, if they did, who was that? That no one's told you that though, right?
No,
I mean, that's fake. I mean, obviously I couldn't do that.
yeah, obviously,
I
because
mean, I wouldn't be allowed to change anything because if I did, I would just be an observer here on your planet. But of course, all that's fanciful and that's not real. So interesting that question came up. I would go back and I would correct the person who invented the word lisp because I think that's cruel.
do you know what? I thought you were going to go for aluminium.
Aluminium can be spelled in two ways, and spelled the British way, it's pronounced aluminium. It has an extra I in it, and in the US, it doesn't.
I heard a rumor that the US is the correct pronunciation of
It
it.
neither is correct. So the interesting thing is that English comes down to us from Old English, and then it comes through German, which sort of took over first. The Germanic tribes took over first. And so then the original word for your place where you live was called a hut. And then when the Germans came in, no, house, because a house was better than a hut, right? And then the French came in and no, maison, mansion, right? So a mansion is better than a house, which is better than a hut, but it's all the same thing. It's just that each language is arrogant and thinks it should be the most important one. Although gray should be spelled with an E because E is a blue in my head. When I think of the letter, I've got a bit of synesthesia. So to me, letters and words have colors.
Oh,
And gray, the E in gray is a blue and the A is like a green. So you can't have gray with an A like we do. What was the question again?
think of
Oh,
an
we're
apple.
changing
Think of an
lisp.
apple. Think of
We
an
don't want to
apple in
change.
your head.
Yeah.
What color is it? What does it look like?
It's green and it's round and has the stem in it, but not the leaf.
Is it two-dimensional or three-dimensional?
Oh, it's very three-dimensional. The light's coming from the right and the top angle, and it's on a gray background with an
Okay.
E.
Sorry, there's some people don't won't see the color if they imagine it.
They don't imagine an apple being green or red.
Yeah, they won't see the color, or they struggle to imagine apple or an object without the word.
Maybe they're brain damaged.
No, it's relatively rare, but the guy who wrote this apparently has it. So
Interesting.
so
His
hence it was,
emergency question should be, is that an apple coming at me? I would imagine.
sorry, Lisp. So Lisp
Listen,
is what you would change if you could change one thing.
it's cruel.
And I mean, the right answer is world peace. So I'm sorry, but you.
Oh, I don't want world peace. How boring would that be? Do you know how many of you biological units would be running around if we gave you world peace? That's horrible.
Yes, yeah, there is a problem with that, isn't there?
Yeah, no,
That's
I'm Team Thanos for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's
I,
just,
I think that's a way to end it. I'm Team South. Yeah, I'm going for
well,
genocide.
well, I have to tell you who you would get. See, I distracted you again. So
Yes,
I nominate, if you haven't had him already, Neil Hamley.
I mean, I would say I've had Neil, but that might have a certain connotation. Um,
Hello. Now it's a party. Okay, then I nominate Anna Hoffman
oh, okay.
because she will be the anti-Buck. She'll be very rational and calm, and she'll stay on track.
It's,
And it's like, you know how you eat sorbet as a palate cleanser? This is like a mental palate cleanser.
ooh, that's a nice idea.
Yeah, somebody sane, it may be two or three sane people, because it's like licorice or something. There's very strong taste in your brain right now. And so you want to probably two or three glasses of milk, something like that.
Yeah. Is that soy milk or wheat milk or rice milk
Um,
or dog
well,
milk?
I was going to drink soy milk, but it's really hard to get at the nipples. I couldn't do it. So I just drank the regular, although you could drink the plant-based, and why isn't it called, I won't say that because this is public, but you do have a delay, because it's not almond milk, is it? It's really something else. But they wouldn't use that word, I guess, or those words. So
Nut milk? Almond milk.
yeah, or juice. Yeah,
Or
that would
juice.
be,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, yeah, that wouldn't sell at the grocery store at all, would it?
no, no. I kind of my favorite milk is well there's two favorite milks. One is from The Simpsons, rat milk or Malk as it was called. Um and then Chief Wiggum breaks into a room and they've got all these mice being milked because they were giving the children rat milk because it was cheaper. And
Nice.
and dog milk was the only milk left over from Red Dwarf
Yes, that's right. That's right.
because no
I
bugger would
I
drink
actually
it.
do. We do soy at the house, soy milk at the house. So some mornings I'll have a sort of a protein shake, with a banana and ice and soy milk, and we have a protein powder that we put in there. So I do that, and I use soy for that. But my favorite tasting milk, believe it or not, is cashew.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you. I really enjoy that. It's very creamy. I like it. Non-sweetened, of course, because what's that about? I don't need any more sugar in my diet.
No, no, no. You get to a certain age and you really just try and cut that out, don't you? It's just
What are you
me.
saying? What are you saying?
Well, I've started to
Oh, okay.
cut stuff out.
Yes.
The
Yep.
nice food, yeah. The stuff that's really bad for you, but
Yeah.
tastes really good. Why is that? Why does really good stuff
I
taste bad?
know. Why didn't broccoli taste like ice cream? Right? What is the deal? And I just have to think that it's just you guys are in the wrong reality again.
Ooh,
Right? And you could go back to, I mean, at one point your realities overlapped and these people were called Rubenesque. And so fat people were considered attractive. They are harder to kidnap.
Yes, that I guess that is one of the things about supermodels and models
Yeah.
is they are
Yeah,
very and they're quite weak from not eating enough. So very yeah.
exactly. Very easy to do that with. And the only downside, of course, of being fat is that you're usually first when the food runs out, right? When we start looking around and the Donner Party gets nervous, you're looked at first because goes a long way.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess if you're running faster than that bear or lion or whatever.
but again, if you're fat, if you fall down, you might rock yourself to sleep before you get up,
Okay.
trap a couple of people in your orbit that can't get out and that sort of thing. So it just depends on how fat you are, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we can end the conversation on that. That just seems a bit of a downer.
Well, I mean,
Um,
I'm heavier than I should be. I consider myself vertically challenged in a way. I need to be, I'm not fat, I'm just not tall enough
yeah,
is the problem.
I don't know how tall you are because most of the time I see you, you're either very small because and sometimes that could be far away,
Mm.
or you are very,
I'm
very
about, I'm
tall.
about, let's see, hold on a minute.
Oh, sorry,
I'm
I
about,
saw.
about
Oh,
that tall.
put it
Yeah, it's,
away. Sorry.
sorry. I,
Sorry.
yeah,
Or you're on stage and then you're really tall.
yes, I'm 6 foot tall. I don't know what that is in kilograms. I'm not good with all that. It's like 30 bananas. What are the 6 feet? I don't know what that is.
17 hands, I think.
Yeah, something like that. 10 stone. I don't know. I can't. I'm not
Yes.
I'm not British enough to know what that is.
It,
Anyway, my second favorite cheese is Stilton.
okay. I anything that's moldy just kind of just puts me off. I mean, cheese is mold.
Well, I
Cheese
mean,
is kind
cheese
of
cheese is moldy. Yeah, that's what that is. So, and that's also beer and all those sorts of things too, right? Everything rotten is what humans seem to like.
yeah. That's just not. Just doesn't seem like a good thing, does it? To eat
No, it
things that have
doesn't.
gone off.
That's right. I mean, like grapes with wine. I don't drink alcohol, Um, but I understand that's how it's made.
But I mean, if you did, you would be out of control. I mean, if
That's
this is
my concern.
Buck just
This is
on
my concern.
yeah,
This is my concern.
just on prescription medication. If you were
Well, or
off,
not, or not on prescription medication. I'm supposed to be. I haven't been to the doctor in a very long time. I'm horrified to go. I might be dead already. I don't know. But I
ah,
don't want to find out.
Neil Hambley's just put in squirrel milk is his favorite milk.
Oh, that is tasty. That
Yeah,
is,
hard to catch though.
yeah, it's true.
Mm.
Yep. They
And
do not like being milked.
and gravity is too strong. I'm not sure.
I think he was talking about the fact that he is of diminutive stature.
I can't. I don't remember how tall or short he is. Is he
He's
like?
not. He's not as tall as we are.
Is he
You're freak,
hobbit
you're
size?
freakishly tall, right? Because you're 6 feet, aren't you?
No, I'm 5'10". Oh,
Oh,
I'm
I'm thinking.
six in heels.
Right, of course, of course. I can't remember. I may be thinking of Paul Randall, who's sort of freakishly large, like circus folk. That's probably what I'm thinking of. Is Paul?
Yeah, I'm sure he would love that reference.
I've said it to him before, so
Yeah, yeah. I guess but you were probably in striking distance when you said it before.
no, I was not in striking distance.
Oh, okay.
He's a terrifying human being, so I don't insult him, directly, obviously. So okay,
Yes.
well, this has been. Don't think this hasn't been a little slice of heaven, Mark.
Oh, if only you meant that. The problem is that just comes across in like 7 different ways. So I will take that as, in the most positive light that I can possibly think.
Yeah, grab, do what I do. Grab a reality stick with it.
Short ass is. Oh, I see. Sorry, it's tried to hide Neil's abusive messages. You can't put the word donkey, ass in the chat because YouTube blocks it out. Neil, sorry.
Oh, wow, what a shame.
I'm going to shut
All
up. All
right.
right.
Well, listen, this has been fun, and tell Anna Buck gave her up. and she'll really, really, really like that because I've done that to her several times to where she kind of doesn't go anywhere with me anymore. So
All
yeah,
right.
she takes separate cabs. It's all quite sad. So
Oh, I'm sure
yeah,
that you're nice once people get used to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure,
All right.
like that.
I guess on that note, we'll say goodbye to everybody who's watching. Bye, Neil,
Goodbye, everybody
Arta,
who's watching.
Mum. There's still about 7 or 8 people. We had about, was it 19 different people watch just live. We're
How
still
many-
on live. Well, we're breaking that fourth and fifth wall that we're acknowledging there are people
Right,
and even just
right.
accounting. Let's do a
Wait a minute.
goodbye. Showbiz
I'll break.
goodbye.
Let me see if I can break the fourth wall.
Can you
How do
break
you?
the fourth wall?
Yeah, you do it by moving around or something. I got to break my green screen here. I don't know
It's
how you do it.
some
Wait a minute. Watch, watch, watch.
if you do this, you sort of get the green bit within your arms. And then if you move them closer, the AI doesn't recognize your head. I'm only doing that so he looks silly, that's all. It doesn't really work. Strike a pose.
I always do, my friend. It's been great chatting,
Yes.
and call anytime.
All right.
And we will chat again soon. You're all my favorite. Everybody online, you're all my favorites.
Yeah.
I love you like a fat kid loves cake.
Yes. All right. Bye, everyone.